Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. Rhett paced nervously, his hands fidgeting with the hem of his t-shirt. His wife, Emma, sat on the edge of the bed, her brow furrowed with concern as she watched her husband's unusual behavior. "Honey, what's wrong?" Emma asked, her voice gentle. "You've been acting strange all evening." Rhett stopped pacing and took a deep breath, his shoulders rising and falling with the effort. He turned to face Emma, his eyes meeting hers for a brief moment before darting away. I need to tell you something," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "and I'm afraid of how you'll react." Emma patted the spot next to her on the bed. "Come sit down. Whatever it is, we can talk about it." Rhett hesitated for a moment before joining her, the mattress dipping slightly under his weight. He clasped his hands together, staring down at them as if they held the answers to the universe. "Emma, he began, his voice catching. He cleared his throat and tried again. "I've been keeping something from you. Something about myself that I've never shared with anyone." Emma reached out and placed her hand over his. "You can tell me anything, Rhett. I'm here for you." Rhett nodded, drawing strength from her touch. I like to dress up in women's clothes sometimes," he blurted out, the words tumbling from his lips in a rush. "I've been doing it in secret for years, and it's something that makes me feel whole." Emma's eyes widened in surprise, but she didn't pull her hand away. "You mean like crossdressing?" Rhett nodded, still unable to meet her gaze. "Yes, I know it might sound weird or perverted, but it's not about that. When I put on a dress or makeup, I feel like I'm expressing a part of myself that I've always had to hide. It's like I can finally breathe." Emma was quiet for a moment, processing this revelation. Rhett's heart pounded in his chest, fear and anticipation warring within him. Finally, Emma squeezed his hand. "Rhett, look at me." Slowly, he raised his eyes to meet hers. Instead of disgust or anger, he saw warmth and understanding in her gaze. "Thank you for telling me," she said softly. "I can't imagine how hard it must have been to keep this secret for so long, but I want you to know that I love you, all of you. This doesn't change that." Rhett felt tears welling up in his eyes. You're not upset?" Emma shook her head, a small smile playing on her lips. "Upset? No. Surprised? Yes. But Rhett, this is just another facet of who you are. And if it makes you happy, then I'm happy for you." Relief washed over Rhett like a tidal wave. He pulled Emma into a tight embrace, burying his face in her shoulder as the tears flowed freely. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for understanding." Emma rubbed his back soothingly. "Of course, honey. We're partners in this life. That means supporting each other no matter what." As they pulled apart, Emma's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "So, do you have a name for your feminine side?" Rhett blushed slightly. "I've always thought of her as Lyla," he admitted. "Lyla?" Emma repeated, testing the name on her tongue. "I like it. It suits you." Over the next few weeks, Rhett and Emma embarked on a journey of exploration and understanding. Emma helped Rhett build a wardrobe for Lyla, accompanying him on discreet shopping trips and offering fashion advice. They spent evenings experimenting with makeup techniques, laughing together as Rhett struggled to master the art of eyeliner. One Saturday afternoon, Emma sat cross-legged on their bed, watching as Rhett transformed into Lyla. He slipped on a flowing blue sundress that brought out the color of his eyes, then carefully applied makeup to soften his features. "You look beautiful," Emma said, as Lyla twirled in front of the mirror. Lila's face lit up with joy. "I feel beautiful," she replied, her voice pitched slightly higher than Rhett's usual tone. "Thank you for being so supportive, Emma. I never imagined I could share this part of myself with anyone." Emma stood and wrapped her arms around Lila's waist. "I'm glad you trusted me enough to let me in. Seeing you so happy makes me happy too." As the weeks turned into months, Lyla became a regular presence in their home. Rhett would come home from his job as a graphic designer, shed the constraints of his masculine persona, and slip into the comfort of Lyla's skin. Emma marveled at the change in her husband during these times. The way his shoulders relaxed, how his smile came more easily, the spark of confidence in his eyes. They established a routine where certain evenings and weekends were Lyla time. During these periods, Emma would use feminine pronouns and treat Lyla as she would any of her female friends. They'd cook together, watch movies, or simply sit and chat about their days. One evening, as they sat on the couch sharing a bottle of wine, Lyla turned to Emma with a serious expression. "I've been thinking," she said, twirling a strand of her wig around her finger. "I'd like to go out as Lyla sometime, not just around the house, but in public." Emma set down her wine glass, considering the request. "Are you sure? That's a big step." Lyla nodded. "I know it's risky, but I feel like I'm ready. Being Lyla has given me so much confidence, and I want to experience the world through her eyes, even if it's just for a little while." Emma reached out and squeezed Lyla's hand. "If that's what you want, then I'm behind you 100%. We'll take it slow, okay? Maybe start with a quiet dinner at a restaurant in the next town over?" Lyla's face broke into a radiant smile. "That sounds perfect. Thank you, Emma. I don't know what I'd do without you." The next weekend, they made the hour-long drive to a neighboring city. Lyla wore a sophisticated black dress with subtle makeup, while Emma opted for a casual blouse and slacks. As they walked into the restaurant, Lyla's hand trembled slightly in Emma's grasp. "You've got this," Emma whispered encouragingly. The maitre d' greeted them with a warm smile. "Good evening, ladies. Table for two?" Lyla's eyes widened in surprise and delight. She managed a nod, and they were led to a cozy booth in the corner. As they settled in, Lyla leaned across the table. "Did you hear that?" she whispered excitedly. "He called us ladies," Emma grinned. "Of course he did. You look absolutely stunning, Lyla." The evening passed in a blur of good food, laughter, and the intoxicating feeling of being accepted as her true self. As they drove home, Lyla couldn't stop smiling. "Thank you for tonight," she said, reaching over to squeeze Emma's hand. "It was magical." Emma brought Lyla's hand to her lips, kissing it softly. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. You were radiant out there." Emboldened by the success of their dinner outing, Lyla began to venture out more frequently. She and Emma would go shopping together, have lunch at cafes, or take walks in the park. Each successful excursion boosted Lyla's confidence and deepened her sense of self. However, as Lyla's world expanded, new challenges arose. Rhett found himself spending more and more time as Lyla, sometimes neglecting his work or other responsibilities. The line between his two personas began to blur, and Emma noticed a change in their relationship dynamics. One evening, as Rhett sat at his desk trying to catch up on a project deadline, Emma approached him with concern etched on her face. "Honey, can we talk?" she asked, perching on the edge of the bed. Rhett swiveled in his chair to face her. "Of course, what's up?" Emma took a deep breath. "I'm worried about you, about us. It feels like Lyla is taking over more and more of our lives, and I'm not sure how to handle it." Rhett's brow furrowed. "What do you mean? I thought you were okay with Lyla." "I am," Emma assured him quickly. "But it's like... Rhett is disappearing. We hardly spend any time together as just us anymore. And I miss my husband." Rhett felt a pang of guilt. He hadn't realized how much his exploration of Lyla had been affecting Emma. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I guess I got carried away with the freedom of being Lyla. I didn't mean to neglect you or our relationship." Emma reached out and took his hand. "I know you didn't, and I love seeing you so happy and confident, but we need to find a balance. I fell in love with Rhett, and while I accept and support Lyla, I need my partner too." Rhett nodded, squeezing her hand. "You're right. I've been selfish, getting caught up in my own journey without considering how it affects you. Let's work on finding that balance together, okay?" Emma smiled, relief evident in her eyes. "That's all I ask. I love you, Rhett. All of you, including Lyla. I just want us to navigate this new chapter of our lives as a team. They spent the rest of the evening talking, setting boundaries, and making plans to ensure their relationship remained strong while still allowing space for Lyla. They agreed to designate specific Rhett and Emma date nights, as well as time for Rhett to focus on his work and other responsibilities. As they worked to find this new equilibrium, Rhett realized that integrating Lyla into his life wasn't just about expressing his feminine side. It was about becoming a more complete version of himself. He began to notice how aspects of Lyla's confidence and grace were seeping into his everyday life as Rhett. At work, he found himself speaking up more in meetings, offering creative solutions with the same assurance Lyla displayed when putting together a stunning outfit. His colleagues noticed the change, commenting on his increased productivity and leadership skills. One day, as Rhett was presenting a new design concept to a client, his boss pulled him aside afterward. "Great job in there, Rhett," she said, her eyes twinkling with approval. "You've really come into your own lately. Whatever you're doing, keep it up." Rhett couldn't help but smile, thinking of Lyla. "Thank you," he replied. "I've been working on embracing all aspects of myself. It's been transformative." As Rhett and Emma settled into their new routine, they found that their relationship grew stronger. The open communication required to navigate Lyla's presence in their lives spilled over into other areas, bringing them closer than ever before. However, keeping Lyla a secret from the outside world began to take its toll. Rhett struggled with the fear of being discovered, constantly looking over his shoulder when out as Lyla. The strain of maintaining two separate identities weighed heavily on him. One afternoon, as Lyla and Emma were enjoying a quiet picnic in a secluded corner of the local park, they heard a familiar voice calling out, "Emma, is that you?" They turned to see Mark, one of Rhett's co-workers, approaching with his dog. Lyla froze, panic rising in her chest. Emma squeezed her hand reassuringly before standing to greet Mark. "Hi, Mark. What a surprise to see you here." Mark's eyes darted between Emma and Lyla, confusion evident on his face. "I didn't know you had a sister, Emma. You two look so much alike." Emma laughed nervously. "Oh, this is my cousin, Lyla. She's visiting from out of town." Lyla managed a weak smile and a small wave, her heart pounding in her chest. Mark chatted for a few more minutes before continuing on his way. As soon as he was out of earshot, Lyla let out a shaky breath. "That was too close," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What if he had recognized me?" Emma pulled her into a comforting embrace. "It's okay, honey. We handled it. But I understand how scary that must have been for you." The incident shook Lyla's confidence. In the days that followed, she became hesitant to go out, fearing another close call. Rhett found himself withdrawing, the stress of maintaining his secret identity taking a toll on his mental health. Emma noticed the change in her partner and decided it was time for another heart-to-heart. One evening, as they sat on their back porch watching the sunset, she broached the subject. "Rhett," she began gently, "I can see how much stress you're under. The constant fear of being discovered is eating away at you. Have you ever considered being more open about Lyla?" Rhett's eyes widened in alarm. "You mean tell people? I don't know if I can do that. What would they think? I could lose my job, my friends." Emma took his hand, her touch grounding him. "I'm not saying you have to shout it from the rooftops, but maybe starting with a few close friends or family members might help ease some of the pressure. You don't have to face this alone." Rhett was quiet for a long moment, considering her words. The thought of revealing his secret was terrifying, but the idea of not having to constantly look over his shoulder was appealing. "Maybe you're right," he said slowly. "But who would we even tell, and how?" Emma smiled encouragingly. "What about your sister Claire? You two have always been close, and she's always been open-minded." Rhett nodded, a small spark of hope igniting in his chest. "Claire, yeah, she might understand, but how do I even begin to explain this to her? We'll figure it out together, Emma assured him. Just like we've figured out everything else so far. Over the next few days, Rhett and Emma carefully crafted an email to Claire explaining Rhett's journey and introducing Lyla. They agonized over every word, trying to strike the right balance between honesty and reassurance. Finally, with trembling fingers, Rhett hit the send button. The wait for a response was excruciating. Rhett checked his phone obsessively, jumping every time it buzzed. 2 days later, as they were having breakfast, Rhett's phone chimed with a new email. His face paled as he saw it was from Claire. "It's her," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I can't read it." "You do it, Emma." Emma took the phone and opened the email, her eyes scanning the contents. Slowly, a smile spread across her face. "Oh, Rhett," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "Listen to this. Dear Rhett and Emma, thank you so much for trusting me with this. I'm so proud of you, little brother, for having the courage to be your true self. I love you, no matter what name or clothes you're wearing." Lyla sounds wonderful. "Madja, and I can't wait to meet her. How about dinner next weekend?" "All my love, Claire." Tears streamed down Rhett's face as relief and joy washed over him. She accepts me," he choked out. Emma moved around the table to wrap her arms around him. "Of course she does. You're still you, Rhett. Lyla is just another beautiful part of who you are." The dinner with Claire was a turning point. Seeing his sister's unconditional acceptance gave Rhett the courage to open up to a few more trusted friends. Each positive reaction chipped away at his fear and shame, replacing it with a growing sense of self-acceptance. As Rhett became more comfortable with his dual identity, he and Emma worked to integrate Lyla more seamlessly into their lives. They hosted small gatherings where friends could meet and interact with Lyla, creating a safe space for Rhett to fully express himself. One evening, as they were preparing for a dinner party, where both Rhett and Lyla would be present at different points in the night, Emma noticed a new light in her partner's eyes. "You seem different," she remarked, helping Rhett adjust his tie. "More at peace." Rhett smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that lit up his entire face. "I feel different," he admitted. "For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not hiding any part of myself. Like I can be fully me, whether that's Rhett or Lyla or somewhere in between." Emma leaned in and kissed him softly. "I'm so proud of you, honey. You've come so far." As their guests arrived, Rhett greeted them with a newfound confidence. Halfway through the evening, he excused himself and returned as Lyla, stunning in an elegant red dress. The transition was met with smiles and compliments from their friends, who had come to know and love both sides of their host. Watching Lyla mingle and laugh with their friends, Emma felt a surge of love and pride. The journey hadn't been easy, but seeing her partner so comfortable and happy made every challenge worth it. As the party wound down and the last guest departed, Lyla found Emma in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher. "Thank you," Lyla said softly, wrapping her arms around Emma from behind. Emma turned in the embrace, looking up into Lyla's eyes. "For what?" "For everything," Lyla replied, her voice thick with emotion. "For accepting me, for supporting me, for loving all of me. I couldn't have done any of this without you." Emma reached up to cup Lyla's face, her thumb gently caressing her cheek. "You did all the hard work, sweetheart. I just held your hand along the way." Lyla leaned down, pressing her forehead against Emma's. "You did so much more than that. You gave me the courage to be myself, to love myself." Thanks for watching. The rest won't be viewable on YouTube, so check out Patreon if you want more. I hope you have a wonderful day, my cutie.